Hello, gentlemen. In today's lesson, what we're going to do is introduce the idea of a time series. We're going to talk a little bit about what one looks like, how do you recognize it. We're also going to learn how to construct them and then identify some pieces. So the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about how to recognize a time series data. So a time series data, or a time series, is when the data represents what happens over time. Now, so it might help a little bit if we reviewed what a graph looks like. Remember that you have two intersecting lines, an x-axis, a y-axis. And for this type of graph, we have what's called the explanatory variable along the bottom, and we have the response variable on going up and down on the y-axis. Now, for these particular time series analysis graphs, these are always going to be some units of time. You could be measuring things that happen daily. You could be measuring things that happen over the course of many years. You could be measuring just hours. So some units of time. And it's what happens during that unit of time will determine how high the graph goes on as your response variable. Okay? And we'll look at some examples of these later. Right now I just want to get used to thinking about this data. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to recognize a time series graph, and then we're going to learn how to construct a time series graph. Now, recognizing it just means looking at it and understanding that you have some units of time and some response variable based on that. So we'll look at some pictures of those when we do the class time together. But we're going to talk a little bit about the process of constructing a time series graph. So that is going to require a series of steps. So let's look at those. So the steps that we need to follow in constructing these is that first, we always know that the time, whatever that is always plotted on the horizontal axis. So plot the time on the horizontal axis. And of course, horizontal axis simply means the flat one, the x-axis, right? Second, we're going to determine a scale for each axis. And this is going to be determined by the number of points you have to plot, the number of different things in your time. Is it days of the year? That means there would have to be 365 of them, for example, which we're not going to do any of that large, so don't panic. And again, just worry about right now concentrating on the steps. We'll look at some examples of these and practice these together. Okay? Third, what you're going to do is you're going to set up the axes. Now, when you do that, axes, remember, label everything. And again, we'll look at examples of what this means, but make sure that you're labeling everything. And always in mathematics, use units. So keep that in mind. Okay? And then we'll simply plot the points. Each piece of data is going to get a point where you're going to go to the right to the correct time. So say it was days of the week, you'd go to Tuesday, for example, and then you're going to go up to the right piece of data. And then from that, One of the ways you know that these are indeed a time series sequence, not only do you have times, but you always connect the dots with straight lines. Sorry, I'm breaking my own rules about note-taking here, but you'll see that I can do that because I'll run out of paper. If I don't, you will have plenty of paper. Okay? So, steps are simply plot the time on the horizontal. Say, for example, you're doing days of the week. You put Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. Then you're going to determine a scale for each axis. Do you need to go up counting in ones? Do you need to go up counting in fives or tens, 20s? Then you're going to set up and the axes by labeling everything, and you never put anything on there without its units if it has some. Then you're simply going to plot the points and connect the dots with straight lines. So that's the end of our notes for today. And this is the way we're going to typically have the lessons are going to run. I'm going to give you the steps. Now I want you to concentrate on the steps. I don't want you really thinking about doing examples yet, although this is a fairly simple process, but we'll do the examples together. Right? I also know that the homework is already out there, and if you wanted to get started, you could, but probably best to avoid it because then I'm going to be asking you questions in class and you will have already done it. It doesn't really matter. If you understand it, do it. If not, just wait because we work on them together. All right. Well, that's all I have for you today, and we will meet next time to do some examples and build some of these together. Thanks.